And good morning. And welcome to our Wednesday morning class coming to you from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte for you that are not in Charlotte or in North Carolina, but joining us somewhere in the world. We want to welcome you to the classes. Well, this is the last class of 2022, and we're going to kind of do our best to wind up some of this information that we've been sharing with you for the last several months as we begin to wind down to see what Spirit is going to lead us into in the next class. I realize this has been a very open subject, a very challenging subject. Probably this challenges everything that we've ever been told and everything that we've been programmed with from our cultures, from society, and especially religion itself, which has based itself upon two things, fear and death. And if you put those together, you have the fear of death. But let's turn it the other way, since I'm dyslexic, to the death of fear. Instead of the fear of death, let us look at the death of fear itself. So we've been into quite a subject. Many of you already have the book and have ordered it, and I hope that you will continue to glean from this wonderful material. And I mean glean from it. These are not books that you just want to sit down and try to read from beginning to end, but you will pick it up and you will open it up and it'll speak to you at a level in which you're ready to receive it. And that's with everything as far as I'm concerned, even the teaching such as I do. You'll receive what you're ready to receive. What you're not, put it on the altar of your higher mind and leave it there. Don't drag it around and try to analyze it and try to judge it, right or wrong, good or bad, but just hold it in a neutral state. Because something you don't understand at this moment may be something that's an epiphany for you tomorrow or 6 weeks or a year from now. Excuse me. And that's what's happening right now is a lot of things that maybe we have kind of set aside a long time ago is beginning to show up through this time of, I call it divine penetration. And the reason is because this whole teaching and you that have been joining us are creating a womb in consciousness, a womb in consciousness. And you're doing that by overlapping the right and the left brain. So if you imagine the right brain as a circle, the left brain as a circle, and geometrically put them into the center of each other, you create that third space that looks like a womb. The female, it is the female, right? And you have one side which is left and right. You have one side that is change and unchangeable. You have the yin, you have the yang, and on it goes as they overlap to create this portal called the Vesica Pisces. So you that are in the class, you have to excuse me, I got a little bit of a chest thing going on here. I'll do my best. But this is a time in which you should start receiving much more inner knowledge and inner information coming to you. And I want you to write down these things. When you get an epiphany of something that is coming from self, write it down. And we'll start sharing these things in the pre-class time of the things that come to you. And I think that is going to way that we can expand ourselves as a collective group is by each one sharing our own individual experiences of what is coming through the womb of our consciousness. And then we're going to come here and birth it out so that everybody can look at the baby and go, isn't that cute? And I want to hold it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I hope you get that allergy. That was a Freudian slip. But that analogy that this is what we're doing. We're birthing. We're birthing the Christ. And that's really what the whole holidays was supposed to be about that we're coming out of was birthing the Christ in us. Yes, in us. The birthing of the Christ in us. It's called an appearing. You know, we can say Christ in us, Christ is in me, all of this is in me, but until it appears in form, it's not doing us a whole lot of good. It's a wonderful thing to know. It's a wonderful thing to talk about. It's a wonderful thing to connect with. But we want to see in 2023 the beginning of the appearing of the Christ. as it forms itself into the mundane, into the place in which we live. So all of this that we've been doing has been preparing for this. And so I am declaring 2023 as a very unique and special year for the manifestation to start and begin, where the birth of the Christ will not be just done once a year at Christmas and talked about, but will be done every day in our lives as we birth the Christ consciousness. So I wanted to continue something that I've been trying to complete here in chapter 10, the building of a new physical body, because we've talked about something that's called the wheel of energy. The wheel of energy is something that you run in your life. It's something you can use to kind of check and see where you are on the wheel of life. And if you remember, there are 4 things that we're dealing with, which is willingness, responsibility, acceptance, and release. That's in the first paragraph on page 49 in your manual. 4 energy points: willingness, responsibility, acceptance. But we are upgrading some of this language, remember? So we will want to upgrade the word release.
Let go.
To let go. Very good. And why do we want to do that?
Why do we want to do that?
Uh-huh.
Release means leasing it.
Tim, we didn't ask you. You're not part of this class.
True story.
Re is a prefix that means re. Now think about words like restore, renew. You can't restore something that wasn't already. So anytime there's a re in front of it, it means it has been, but it's kind of lost itself and it has to be again, visited. So when you release, if you have a lease, a year lease on an apartment, but you want to move on to something else, you're going to buy a house, why would you go back and release it? That's why people don't get anywhere, because they're too busy releasing again and again and again, but I want to move. You know, people come into spiritual because they want to move on in consciousness. They want to move on to their potential, but they keep releasing. And I know that word's going to come up because it's so ingrained in us that we're going to use it until the new norm comes in. But we have to look at some of this language and redo it. So I think using the term letting go is a much better than release, because that's what we mean when we say release. We're talking about letting go of something. But I don't want to let go of it and then go back to it and let go of it again. I'll never get anywhere if I keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's what insanity.
I think if we say release, we are taking all the responsibility for the situation. If we let it go, we're turning it over to Spirit.
Very good point. That's a very good point. Very good point. We want to let it go and give it to Spirit, our higher self. That's excellent. So this statement has been made throughout the course that problems are golden opportunities. Isn't that great? I mean, what a shift in perception. When the Course of Miracles talks about a shift in perception being a miracle in consciousness, that changes everything. When I shift from too many problems in my life, I don't deserve it, why did it happen, to, oh boy, an opportunity to grow and to learn something deeper. Even our own symptoms and physical, mental, and emotional ills and whatever are opportunities. There's many things that I do today because I dug deeper, because I was driven to do it. I needed to find an answer for myself. And that's why we're given these challenges as golden opportunities to put us into practice what we know. I love the adage, practice the presence of God. You got to practice it. So now this is the accident, disease, social habit, or whatever problem he uses. Again, changing it. Let's change it to challenge, or might be, it is only the vehicle for materialization. Isn't that what we all want? Don't you want to see unconditional love materialize into your life until it's not something that is foreign to you that you go visit, but it becomes formed into your nature? into your nature. You see, your nature is that which you do. That is that which you do without even thinking. See, most of the things that is in your nature you do without thinking. How many things did you do today before you got here that you didn't even have to think about? Getting dressed, maybe taking a shower, whatever you did, brushing your teeth, all the things that you do that you don't have to think about because it is so ingrained into the nature of who you are. Well, that's the same way with the Christ nature. So you have a human nature and you have that nature of the divine in you, by the way, which is what it means in the name. In the name of whatever you ask in my name, it shall be given unto you. And of course, the argument has been you got to use the name Jesus, or you got to use the name of a title, a label. That's not what it means. You change name to nature. Whatever you do in my nature, it shall be given unto you. What is nature? Love unconditionally, non-judgment. Peace that passes understanding, joy that is exceeding, wholeness. This is the nature, our divine nature. But we don't live in that divine nature. We live most of the time in our human nature, where we have learned all of these things that make up our nature as a human being. Oh, that's just her nature. Or that's just his nature. It's just the way he is. I hear that all the time about people. Excuses about ourselves, about other people. That's just their nature. I've seen his dad do the same thing. I've watched her grandma do the very same. It's just in the nature of that family. But the divine nature holds the spiritual attributes of what we call God. When we use the term God correctly, we're talking about all of the attributes of divine nature. And that's why it says God is love. Doesn't say God has love. God is love. And anytime you see something is, you can always substitute that with an equal sign. Anytime it is, God is love, it says God equals love and love equals God. You're saying the same thing. But you're talking about in the sense of divine nature. So it says that we must bring this awareness of the challenge into the moment of the present. That's important and takes a lot of practice of being in the state of higher consciousness, is to not let the past steal what's happening to you in the present. And it'll do that. It will do that. It will attach past experiences on a present experience. Well, when I did that before this, I felt this. When that happened back 20 years ago, I experienced this. And it begins to retrieve from the past old patterns. But if you stay present with it without judging it what? Right or wrong, good or bad, and keep it neutral in contemplation, and that's the key of it, then you keep it from the past part of the brain injecting itself into the present experience. We must be conscious and see it, feel it, and recognize it. Now, all of you that are here and with us are here at this level because you've attained a level in consciousness. And that is what you're responsible for. You're responsible to make everything come up to that level of consciousness that you've been brought through your inner evolutionary process. So in other words, we can say, well, this is what we believe at HeartLight, or this is what I believe, that's why I go to HeartLight. That's one thing. That's one thing. But that doesn't mean that it is a manifestation of our nature. Okay? Of our nature. I don't want to get too deep into that. I'll never get out of it. So we must understand and accept and be aware of the challenge. And here's the important part. And we are part of the challenge. This keeps you out of victimized consciousness. See, you have to take your part in your ability to co-create your experience and your destiny. If you don't take your responsibility in what you have created into your life, then you don't have the power to uncreate it and change it. That's when you need the hero. That's when you need the archetype of the hero to come in on the white horse and untie you from the railroad track. And that's when you start looking to a God outside of yourself, or a savior outside of yourself, or a guru outside of yourself, or someone who's able to rescue you. And you're not taking any responsibility in changing it because you don't believe that you had anything to do with it, that it's been done to you, not for you. So, the first one on the wheel that we want to talk about is willingness, is the first point of the energy on the wheel. In order to start the process of changing our physical body, correcting a situation, or dissolving a challenge, we must be willing to examine the disorder in the moment of the present. Now, I want to get this as simple as I can to you. That means if something happens to me today, I come up to some kind of a challenge that shows up in my life, instead of allowing a past lower part of my consciousness or memory to take it over, I remained where I am today. Because I know a lot more today than I did a year ago. I know a lot more today than I did 2 days ago, because I'm constantly studying and reading and bringing in new information all the time. And therefore, I am responsible for that which I am bringing into my consciousness. Does that make sense to you? And that means, okay, I knew better than that. I knew when that happened that I should have. So if you can stay in that moment, in the moment of now, and say, but I just learned that my thinking has evolved to a higher state of how I think about this situation. I'm trying to not get into too much on this because it is so difficult. In other words, right now sitting here, you have attained a certain level of consciousness, and you're responsible for that. From now on, you have to see things from the level of consciousness in which you've attained, and not drop down into lower states that you have been in the past. Does that make sense to you? Yes. See, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, you was looking at things at a totally different level than the level you would look at it now. But the ego mind is always trying to pull you back into the past, into the memory level of how you did things at a lesser level of consciousness. So you have to be willing to examine the disorder. Okay, let's look at this word disorder. What do we know about the word disorder? I've taught you something called the theory of chaos, which is a part of kind of quantum thinking and whatever. And, you know, if you look it up, it gets complicated. All this stuff in the world is complicated, but in divine principle, it's not. When you look at it from a divine principle point of view, all this stuff that they've made very complicated, because that intimidates your brain, and you get the message from ego, you're not smart enough. You're not educated enough. You're not a physicist. You're not a scientist. There is that voice in us that accuses us. In the Bible, it's called the accuser of the brethren. The accuser of the brethren. And there's that part that can say, and this is what I've shared with you about teaching this, is I have been really in resistance to teaching something about the idea of reversing aging, and death itself is a big subject to take on, because I've got a lot of data out there that proves me wrong. And I live with it every day. I look at my body and I see aging every day. I see everything that I'm trying to teach to you is not showing up in my 3D view. So it takes a lot to overcome appearance and teach from the level of faith. Only faith can tell you.
I think also non-judgment allows the faith to come in better, easier.
Absolutely it does. The right atmosphere. So I don't know, I'm just rattling. I'm trying to close this up, and I don't know how to really do it with you because there's no close to any of this kind of subjects. But I hope that can make some sense for you. And this is a very powerful statement. This doesn't mean that we have to believe or not believe it, or that we have to understand it or even analyze it in any way. To examine it, all we have to do is be willing to look at it in the moment of the present with no judgment. With no judgment. Okay. So no matter how much we think we know, how much something has been documented, or how things appear to be, we cannot change, correct, or dissolve any condition or situation or physical body, or alter our lifestyle unless we are willing to examine something new. Now, I had you underline that in the book. It's important. To think of death as not a finality is something new. To think of the fact that aging has been redefined completely from the years I live is new. It does not matter how many years you live. What your age is has nothing to do with your aging process.
Amen. Yeah.
And I've given you scientific proof ever since that telomerase enzyme has been discovered as caps on your DNA. That's the only thing that ages you, is the chipping of those caps on that holds your chromosomes of your DNA. So the body is made to live however long you want it. And when they discovered in 1990 or so about the telomeres, the Geron Corporation, they knew at that time that they had something, an enzyme called T65, that could be taken that would allow a human being to live 150 years. They were completely shut down from it because of the system that rules 3D. The pharmaceutical and everything did not. What are we going to do with the baby boomers if they live to 150? They're already breaking the system. Social Security and everything, if they keep living, I mean, we're based on you not living. You understand? Insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies are all based on the fact of you take out all this insurance, and they're betting on the age. And by the way, the age limit has gone down in America to 77.6 or something like that. It's gone down because we're so unhealthy in America, because we eat so crappy. Yeah, it's gone down. But I'm going to think something new. Are you getting my point? I got something new to think about. And I'm thinking about, wait a minute, that doesn't matter. I don't look at age by years. I'm looking at it by telomeres.
Where can we get this T65?
Well, I don't know if it's right. I ordered it back years ago. I don't know if that's the thing. Now they know that there's things you can do to lengthen your telomeres. Exercise, diet, the things that we've been teaching in new thought and metaphysics for all these years are the principles that will help you to change how fast your telomeres. There's just so many times that telomeres can do this before death is experienced.
Epigenetics.
Epigenetics is the answer. Oh my God,
And
yes.
he says it's nutrition, exercise, and sleep.
And what you
The
inhale.
third one
drink.
is sleep. You got to get enough sleep.
In other words, it's atmosphere. It's atmosphere, environment.
Right.
That's what epigenetics means. It means that your DNA is affected by the atmosphere you live in.
Right.
Right.
90%
And the atmosphere that you live in is translated to little antennas that are on the outside of every cell, pick up from the environment, or the field, he calls it, and brings it in and gives it to the DNA, and the DNA then starts making protein based, and it starts shaping and forming itself based on environment. So if you're in an environment of depression, anxiety, don't like yourself, low self-esteem and all of that, then that's coming in to your DNA, which is affecting how fast the telomeres are chipping. And that's why some people age fast. Some go, oh my God, I can't believe you're that age. You look great. Because people have different and create different environments. Yes?
That's all good and it sounds all gravy, but what about life after death?
You're in life after death. Right now.
That's true.
Life is not a thing that starts at death. Life is always.
Reincarnation.
No, it's bigger than reincarnation.
That's where I gotta get.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good point, and it's another subject, but you got to understand the difference in life and living. To be alive is different than life. Anything that lives will die. That is just principle.
Right.
If it has a beginning, it will have an end. But life has no beginning because it's another expression or attribute we call God. We can say God is love. We can also say God is life. So is there a beginning or ending to that which we call God or spirit or source? Absolutely not. So how could there be a beginning of life?
It's existence.
Hmm?
There is existence.
Life is existence.
So there's that existence before you're born, after you die. There's still that existence. You are still there. It is still, it's a continuum.
Life
And we
is.
choose to
Life
sit in
is.
and out.
When we say God is, we can say life is. It's not ever gone away. So there's not a segment of I come and live and I don't have life, but after I die, now I get life. That's an old religious teaching about heaven after, living in eternity with God and Jesus and all that kind of teaching has been put in there. But the teacher, Jesus, I'll give you an example, was talking to people who were living. And he said, I come to give you life. He didn't say after you die, but I'm here right now to create a portal that you can have access to life while you're living. So in other words, they can experience life in the present, not after. So in that way, death is not needed. You're going to understand religion builds on death.
Right.
Oh yeah. If you want to get to God and get your mansion and walk on streets of gold, you got to die to do it. You will only know God after you die. You'll only have a conversation with Jesus after you die. You won't get your mansion until you die. You won't live in peace and no tears and all the stuff that's promised you after you die. And you understand why that makes death so powerful in the religious world today? Because it is based upon a way to God. And yet they say Jesus is the way. No, death is the way. So here's what I believe the Christ taught us that is not being taught, is the crucifixion. I think the crucifixion is one of the most spiritual things. And even we have put it so like, oh my God, I see a man suffering on a cross and dying, and why would God send his son to die on a cross? And all that stuff is in our head if we came out of religions. And we don't see it. One, Christ is life in human incarnation. So you have life into your incarnation. You incarnate into a living, but you are the life in the living of yourself. That's why you continue on. Because life continues. Okay?
Life lasts from
So he says to them who are in the living, I have life and more abundantly to give you.
Yes.
So we're getting into stuff here. No. That's good. You have good questions. And
Because the light bulb came on.
yeah, and this is what I want to do for next month. Before we start a new subject, which I do have, that I want to do, we're going to have all next month of just open talks and questions and whatever. No specific subject. So we can talk about anything you want to in January in this class.
Something else that might be interesting, I don't know about other people, but I've had a lot of spiritual experiences, and they kind of help me to grow more. But I think sometimes if we share those with other people, they recognize and can relate and start to go in that direction as well.
Michael, are we picking people up talking out here? Okay, good. All right. That's important because people want to hear you. That's online. So does that make any sense to you? Life is no beginning and no end. It is the isness or essence. Living is something that we do when we incarnate into a 3D body. The body becomes alive. And therefore, it's the body that will die if we stay in time and space. Because there's a what? Time to live and a time to die. You know, Ecclesiastes. It's a time to sow. It's a time to reap. It's a time to weep. It's a time to do this. It's a time to do that. But one of my favorite scriptures, and I just had to give it to you right now. It talks about when the mystery of God is finished, time shall be no more. Oh, isn't that good? I think it's in Revelations 10 or something like that. When the mystery of God is finished, time will be no more. Now that's powerful. What does that mean? It means when you understand who you are, that you are an aspect of this being we call God. Because that's the mystery. People don't know who they are. Once you know, and that mystery is finished, and you know who you are, then you become a timeless being. And the translation of that, actually in the Greek, is when the mystery of God is finished, there'll be no more delay. Or we would say in energy work, a blockage. No more blockages to life. Life is as available to you right now in that, whatever body you're in when you get this. And it may take 1,000 times to get it, or 100 times. I don't know how many times you've been around, but is this the body that you're going to get it, or are you going to need another one? Because the blueprint is endless. You can have as many bodies that it takes to get you to a state of enlightenment and finish the mystery of God. And the mystery of God is only finished when you come to know who you are. And that's what the teacher did that stopped his incarnation, was in the statement, I am the way, I am the truth. Who's the truth? I am. It was not a philosophy. It was not a theology. It was not a mental construct. It was an identity that he came to. And the minute that happened, the mystery of God was finished. And that's what he means when he says, it is finished, the cross thing, story. And then he became the Christ that had no beginning and no end, because Christ represents the order of life, called Melchizedek. See, I so wish you all would have had some good Bible teaching. I really do. I really do, because, oh my God, so many of the pieces are coded in so much of the Bible. Hebrews talks about how that when Yeshua came and manifested the Christ, the whole order of things were changed. completely. Up to that point had been what's called the Aaron or Aaronic order, priesthood. But then it changed to the Melchizedek order. And here's how it describes Melchizedek order. Endless life, without mother, without father, or ending of days. Whoa. That means life doesn't need a mother or father. It doesn't have to be born. It doesn't have to be conceived in a human body. It is coming from a whole higher order of consciousness that doesn't need any of those things because it exists on its own. Now, for you to come into another body, you need a mom and you need a dad, and you're going to end up with a culture and a race and a gender and all kinds of stuff to get here in this incarnation. But the thing that's getting here in this incarnation didn't need a mother and a father and a brother and a sister or white or black or gay or straight or anything is like that, because it was the essence of that which God is. And we keep thinking the answer is in the living. No, it's in the life in us. And that's why this teaching can be so important, to undo this old programming that it's all based upon everybody's gonna die. Enoch did not die. He disappeared and was no more. That's what the Bible says. Enoch disappeared and was no more. There is no trace of his physical death whatsoever. And there's others. Annalise Scarron, who wrote a powerful book, Ye Are Gods, back in the 70s, disappeared. They never found anything that proved a physical death. This has been going on for a long time. You just don't hear about it. There are people of high states of Tibetan priests who have learned such a high state of meditation that they slipped out before physical death. You're not going to hear this in religion. You're not going to hear this taught, because all this taught is get ready and prepared to die. Get old and die. That's why this says, unless we are willing to examine something new that is contrary to what we've been taught. That's in the last paragraph on page 49, the very last sentence almost. Look at it. Look at it. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read this whole paragraph. It's so good. No matter how much we think we know, that's a great one. Doesn't matter how much we think we know, how much something's been documented. Oh my God, people say to me, I can disprove you on this completely because everybody's died. No, they haven't. Even Moses, I don't think they ever found any place where he died. There's many highly enlightened people through the ages that have no record of a physical death. And bless their hearts, because they kept their foot in the door so the door wasn't completely shut to life and more abundantly. So it doesn't matter if it's documented. Oh, I got the data. I got the proof. I can show you. I can show you the science. God, I just hate that one sometimes, because most of the time the science they want to show you is old Newtonian stuff that's outdated anyway and wrong. I really appreciate what Greg Braden's doing right now, in the sense of that we've been wrong about Darwinism and evolution. That is not what evolution is, because that is built upon competition, and evolution is based upon cooperation. It's totally shifted completely to what evolves us. We'll never evolve competing with each other. We'll only evolve incorporating with each other. If that was taught, that you cannot grow without me, then you would stop judging me.
Isn't that what Einstein said in Objection to Newton? That things go on forever?
I'm sure he did.
I don't know specifically what was said, but yes, I'll say yes. We cannot change, correct, or dissolve any condition. Now, how long has someone been trying to do something about a certain condition in our life? We've run from workshop to workshop, from tool to tool, to teaching, to guru, trying to work out this human condition. Because humanity is a condition. It really is. It's a condition that the Course of Miracles calls insanity. To be a total 100% human being. And don't you love that one? Well, I'm only human. What a sad thing to say. I am only human. The minute you believe you are only human, you're kind of insane. According to Course of Miracles. I mean, the world kind of proves me right now. It's just kind of running amok. It's kind of crazy what's going on, isn't it? So if we're willing to if we want to dissolve a condition or situation in our physical body or alter lifestyle, only if we're willing to examine something new that's contrary to what we've been taught. And that's what we're doing right now. We're looking at something new that none of us was taught in the churches and religions in which we were raised. Now this is called an intervention. We're having an intervention on aging and death. Like, hold on here. Maybe you don't have the power of the final say. Jesus said, if you eat, I am the bread of life, and if you eat of this bread, ye shall not die. That's in the Bible, black and white. Maybe red and white if you have a Jesus. You know, a lot of Bibles have Jesus' words in red. But that's a good scripture. Because bread is always a symbol of essence and substance, just like what Lynn was talking about. It is partaking of the essence that has no beginning and no end, no mother, no father, no descent, no gender, no race, no anything. It is just the isness. It is the isness. And what is the isness? I is that which I is. That's what the I am is. I just is that which I is. The reason is because we have to change the ongoing consciousness that is imaging our current condition, situations, and lifestyle. It has to be something new and contrary to what we've been taught, because of what we've been taught. If what we've been taught would have worked, see, that's kind of where I am. I'm at this point, I'm extremely honest. I don't want to live under the cloak of the image that I have as the teacher or the whatever. But I'm really reviewing a lot of things that I believed and taught. I really am. I'm really revisiting, at this level that I am now, some of the things that should I continue to hold on to because it just hasn't worked. When something doesn't work at some point and manifest, it needs to be revisited as to what it was that didn't cause it to manifest or work. So, I had a dear associate. I've mentioned her before to you, that worked with me for many years back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, who ran my ministry, and we ministered together. We pastored churches together. She wrote songs. She wrote my books. She did everything. She was everything. And she's gone now to another realm. But I recently received a book that she started before she passed into another dimension. And in reading that has just triggered a lot of questions in me. And I I'm just telling you, I'm revisiting because I have a new idea about some of the things that when I qualified that belief that now I know. And I have to keep looking at the belief system and saying, do you need an upgrade? Do you need a correction? And see, this is where the ego wants to get us stuck. I believe this, I'll always believe this, you can't change me. That's what the ego wants to do, is to concrete it in so you become unteachable, unchangeable. We need to live in the state of metanoia, or repentance, or change of mind. Something new that's contrary to what we've been taught. For if what we've been taught would work, then we wouldn't have to make the changes or corrections. Next is the point called responsibility. We must be willing to stop, relax, and as creators, take the responsibility for the actions that we have created. I've already touched that a little bit earlier. But it's a hard one because it's hard to think, why would I have created that? That's a tough one. And that's called the age of reasoning in your head. When you start reasoning, I don't
The ego
deserve
will show
it.
you all the reasons.
Oh,
Then you should
absolutely.
Instead of all the reasons you can.
So we have to take that
Responsibility that we are co-creating every experience and everything in our life, that we have something to do with it. That then empowers us to do something about it, because you can't change something that you think you've been victim to. To understand the answer to this haunting question, we can ask ourselves one question and then give ourselves one answer. The question is, why am I brought into this situation? The answer is because I have thought patterns embedded in my belief system that I have created, and I'm ready to take responsible for them. That's in 1, 2, 3rd paragraph on 50. You need to mark it. You need to look at it. Should I give you that again? There's a question and an answer here. Why am I brought into this situation? What did I deserve? Oh my God, I've been meditating for 20 years and I'm vegan and I don't eat meat and I go to class and blah, 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 all those things that you're talking about, all those little things that makes us feel like we had nothing to do with it. This says, why am I brought into this situation? The answer is because I have thought patterns embedded in my belief system that I have created. I'm responsible for the responsibility of them. And I want to say right here, this is a little tweak, but please notice when it says the difference in I'm and I am. I know that seems small, but it's huge. I'm is different than I am. This is the law. This is what all the law requires. As a creator, the ability to think and hold responsibility for the action that we create. The reason why we cannot alter, release, or what? Let go, balance, improve, or make any changes whatsoever in its results as long as we blame someone else or other circumstances for this cause. Nothing in our life just happened to us, but for us.
So I'm no longer the victim.
The third energy, I've got to get through these. I'm determined. I'm going to get all 4 of them. The third energy point on the wheel is acceptance. Now we are taught to let go of our problems, to let go and let God. Remember that? Everybody kind of uses that. But we cannot let go of anything as long as we think it was caused by someone else. It is not ours to let go of. Therefore, we must have acceptance before we can let go. Many people will say, I know that I create my reality. I already believe that everything that happens to me is a result of my thinking. Yet, these people, so see, that's not it. It's not it just to say the right things. like I'm saying right now. Yet these people are experiencing all kinds of conditions and problems that are certainly not current thinking in reality. See, this is where New Thought became a religion. This is where New Thought became a religion. It had to become a religion because there wasn't enough manifestation of the principles of it. This is what I tried to tell. This is my message that I was sent into Unity to tell. That you've stopped. You've stopped and made it a philosophy. You teach it. You say all the right things. You got the right things to say. But it has not in any way become the reality of the people. How many workshops have I been to in New Thought for prosperity?
Or two.
There's always a workshop on prosperity in a New Thought church. And who's the one that's so good at it? I can't think of her name.
Hulse.
No, in
Locally,
Unity. Mary,
Mary Ann Williamson?
no.
No, a local person.
No, she's not local. But anyway, there's somebody that's very famous that I know that the Unity runs. She's excellent. She's absolutely the best workshop
Okay.
people that
Yeah.
that there is. And yet I've never seen anybody change the struggling of their finance the whole time that I've been in these different communities. They have conscious beliefs, opinions, and attitudes that they create in their own reality, but they don't realize that it is not their current thinking that is causing all the difficulties in their life. There is no way they could have accumulated sufficient negative thinking in this embodiment to cause such serious adversities. So again, it just boils down to people are learning things they don't have a conscious level to match. Prosperity does not begin out here in the first place. Prosperity is not getting more money. Prosperity is not anything to do with out here. And let me give you a scripture for that. Ye shall prosper as the soul does prosper. If you don't have inner prosperity, forget about a match of anything outside of yourself showing up as prosperity.
I believe that, yeah.
That's a good scripture, isn't it? You shall prosper as your soul prospers. Wow. As your soul prospers. So when we live in lack, but listen, I'm going to win the lottery. Or when that inheritance comes through, when grandma's gone, etc., etc., you think that's prosperity. That's not prosperity. Prosperity is the prosperity of the soul, the prosperity of love, the prosperity of peace, inner joy. All these things prospers and overflows into materialization of things. Let me give you another good one. Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and these other things shall be added to you. Isn't that a good one?
That works.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to come to HeartLight when. I'm going to give to HeartLight when. I'm going to do this when. Doesn't work that way. Fourth one. Yay, I made it. Is the will of the energy of, he calls it release, but we call it letting go. After we have taken the responsibility, then we can accept anything that comes into our life as the workings of the Christ self. How is that? For all things work together for good to them that love God. Not some things, not the things that I pick out, not the things that I like, but all things work together for the higher good, we say. Now that we know that it is our own thinking, we can let go of it, turn it over to the Christ self or Christ consciousness, and the process is completed. This is the action of the will of energy that enables us to understand and correct any condition in our physical body and dissolve any situation in our life. I got to close with this, and I'm so glad you're here for this one. A switch word is a tool that will divert our attention away from the problem. Now, I've learned something recently. I'll just pass it on to you. When I'm trying to meditate and thoughts are coming in, every time a thought comes in, I say, beep, beep. Something kinds to come in, some crazy thought. I just go, beep, beep. I'm training it to go away. So you got to find a switch word. Here's one. It's okay. That's a good switch word. It's okay. We can say this now because we know that the cause of the problem has been eliminated. We are not just sweeping it under the rug. We use the switch word or any other method to attempt change in our physical body or alterations in our lifestyle, without first being willing to look at the problem in the moment of the present, the challenge, take responsibility for its cause, accepting as the workings of Christ's self, and release it back to the Christ self to be held in consciousness. I got to get down to here. Last paragraph. This is the last thing I'm saying on this class at this time.
Which word?
On page 52, the last paragraph. When we use the switch word, we should always smile. The reason is because laughter brings the energy of the soul into play. I am so glad you're here today. I've been wanting to do this to promote one of your laughing classes. Listen to this again. When we use the switch word, we should always smile. The reason is because laughter brings the energy of the soul into play. Unless you become as a child, you shall not enter the things of the kingdom of heaven. You got to play like a child.
The scripture says laughter is good.
And laughter is good medicine. A big smile automatically aligns the electrical body, the chemical body, the physical body, and the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. That's why when you do that, as crazy as it looks, that you're not thinking of anything else. Because you are in a state of total alignment with everything that you are in that moment. The ego cannot stand to be in the presence of play and happiness and love and laughter. If you want to flung everything out into a kaleidoscope of possibilities, it is through laughter. When these lower bodies are brought into adjustment, the energy of the soul, which is the force field surrounding the heart, radiates out in all directions, permeates every cell, atom, and electron in the physical body. There is no stronger healing power in the universe than the energy of the soul. This is the meaning of the ancient adage, laughter is the medicine of the soul. The energy of the soul is the silent power of the feminine ray, which is the dominant age for the golden age. Well, what a way to close that one, huh?
Yeah. Ha, ha.
That's a great ha 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 ha.
Very good, very good. Good job, everybody.
Oh, wow. Let's just take a moment. We got about 2 or 3 minutes before class. Again, I want to thank you that are joining us, if you're still with us, and you that will join us later, and especially you that are here in person today and came today. And thank you for your faithfulness through however these many months that we've been tackling this very powerful information that Gene Davis has left us with my unique twist to it, which I hope is spiritual. But today we leave with new knowledge. Knowledge based on life and not death. Knowledge based upon love and not fear. We're leaving here based upon an identity of the divine and not just the human story. But there's a new story being birthed in us because there was room in the inn. Thank you for opening up and making room in your mind to receive the seed of that which everything in 3D is against and can prove wrong. We, through faith, are saying, as God is, so are we. Say it with me. And
As
God is, so are we. And there it is. All right. Thank you for your support for the class. We're still a little low on our budget, but it's still coming in. So we're still going to believe that today's will be added to that also, that we can continue. Sunday is a special day for us here because it's going to be what I call the refreshing from the presence of God. There's a scripture that says, and there shall come times of refreshing. And we're refreshing HeartLight. You're going to see a different HeartLight next Sunday completely.
Just don't call it a revival.
It's not. It is going to be a time of renewal, a time of freshness. I've noticed that through here, I don't know, but it seems like the ministers have lasted approximately 4 years or so.
Except Julie.
How long was Julie here?
She was here way too long.
And that's that. But anyway, I'm saying there is a cycle kind of to all of this. And I feel that I'm at that cycle of almost 5 years and I'm not ready to go. So I'm going to refresh it and reboot it. And they're going to start fresh and new with some new things about it. I'm sorry that Greg is gone and Paul's kind of gone. But there's part of me that says, okay, there's room now for us to relook at what the service should look like and what we need to do in the service. And I do think that HeartLight has continued to hold on to a church model a little more than I want at this time. We're going to become more a spiritual than a church kind of model. So I don't know exactly what that means, but Spirit's going to show me and lead me as to what that means. I know one thing that it means is more vibration, more sound, more chanting, more voice, more participation, dancing. Yeah, absolutely. I'm always for the dancing. Whatever.
And laughter.
Laughter. All of this is really the ingredients that is divine attributes that needs to be added into HeartLight.
And all of us having the willingness to change.
And the willingness. We just get on the wheel.
Take the responsibility.
Take the responsibility of it. I think you're going to be happy with it. I hope so. We'll see how it goes. We may have a little time of adjusting and kind of trying things and seeing how it works and whatever.
And Greg, Paul's gonna come back and visit.
Yes, Paul. We'll see Paul. And Greg is being wonderful. He is totally with us. Anytime we need him, he's not really gone everywhere. He just is changing some of his priorities. And that's fine. That's fine. That's no problem.
I just like Paul's music because he writes his own, and it's really good.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how this all kind of plays out and works in that way. Let's just take a moment and we'll let you go. Divine Holy Spirit, once again, we recognize you as you are the teacher in us, the teacher that is helping us to remember so much of what we have forgotten when we were in you before the foundation of the world. When we sat with you while you were forming the world in your mind, we were with you. We have forgotten the agreements, the contracts. We've forgotten most of the experiences of our past lives. But even though we have forgotten them in the human mind, does not diminish them in any way. They're still in perfect, they're intact completely. Everything is going according to schedule, whether we believe that or see it. We don't have to believe it. We just have to know that all things are working for the highest and is working for our evolution to the next level for what it means to be human on this planet. We ask the blessings of El, the Most High God, of the Melchizedek order of an endless life, without mother, without father, without beginning or ending of days, to bless HeartLight with the abundance of the blessings of the Most High. And so it is. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Hope to see you Sunday.